Welcome back, everyone. It's the Bourbon Judge. We are back at it, ready to have some fun. So I just got back from a lovely trip out in Ohio as well as Kentucky. Had a chance to do a couple of different barrel picks. So I want to kind of just do this episode to show everyone, exactly what goes into barrel picks, how does it work, kind of just high level as a whole. So I have some pictures and we'll have a little bit of fun with it. So we started off actually out in Columbus. And I should say, if you've never been to Columbus, Ohio, make sure you check out Middle West Spirits, a lovely craft distillery, fantastic, I should say, craft distillery right in downtown Columbus, Ohio. So we actually picked this one right here, so which is the Dark Pumpernickel Cask Strength Rye Whiskey. Now this bottle, of course, is what you find on the shelf, which is the small batch. I think it's what, 96 proof. We, of course, did a cask strength version of this. And the barrel we picked, it was pretty damn good. So this will be available to our patrons coming up in the very next couple of months. And then we made the trip down to Kentucky to 1792 and did a single barrel pick of the full proof. So really looking forward to both of these coming in. But let me go ahead and take you guys all behind the scenes so you can see exactly what this looks like. Cool? All right, here we go. So this is the beginning of Middle West Spirits, right when you walk in. Nice craft distillery, again, right downtown Columbus, Ohio. So he set us up. Kyle, our guide from Middle West Spirits, such a cool guy. He had everything ready, poured, and available for us, which is awesome. So there's 8 of us there. We had a great time again. They set us up right in there, like right outside the bar area. So we're kind of going through, nosing them. I think Tom's a fan of that one. He knows what he wants. The cool thing about this is you go through the process, you're nosing them, you're tasting them. Everyone's kind of giving their thoughts, giving exactly what they're thinking in terms of the nose, the palate, the finish, giving tasting notes. See my good friend here, Rick Cluse, he's deep. He's looking at that color of that rye whiskey. So is Nick Massey in the background, looking deep into these bottles. Everyone's kind of nosing them. My buddy Gandy Road, Dan Hyatt over there in the background, the corner there. Everyone's just kind of nosing them. They're just thinking what's this one about? Do we like it? Do we not like it? Is this something that we think everyone in our group, the Bourbon Judge community, would like? Well, you can only nose it for so long. You know the judge. Now it's time to sip the whiskey. So we start to sip it, see whether or not if this is something that we think would be, a quality level rye whiskey for our community. We could tell Troy Cassell and Justin Reber really like this one. Back to just kind of, tasting it, just seeing whether or not, moving on to the next glass, which one would work for our community. Well, it looks like we have made a decision. We picked our cask strength rye whiskey. All right, let's go ahead and do a tour of the distillery. So now we're gonna go ahead. Kyle was super cool. He walked us through the distillery. We saw obviously a little bit of everything, right? The columns. Everyone had a chance to climb up into the fermenter, take a peek inside, smell all that lovely just goodiness. Gandy Rowe was up there. Kind of like what the judge does, which is myself, what I do often, talking, asking a ton of questions. But hey, Kyle was super cool and answered all of our questions, which is awesome. Thanks, Kyle. We appreciate you. Again, kind of just, going through, looking at the different fermenters, looking at their equipment. It's a smaller space right downtown, but it's definitely, works very well. Now, the cool thing is they actually have a tasting room upstairs. They haven't launched this one as of yet, but very soon, this will be the future tasting room right in the middle of where all the action happens. Again, looking at all these different columns, just seeing the whiskey, how the whole process is being made, taking us through their different, the different grains that they use. Here's a great example of the grains that they use, regardless if it's the corn, of course, obviously in this case, the rye as well. I will say Middle West sources a lot of their grain actually from Ohio, which is awesome. We had a chance to kind of go through. As you can tell, my buddy Nick, he is very impressed with the Middle West Spirit selection. Like every good tour, it always ends, of course, in the gift shop. We bought some bottles. Let's just say that. We bought some bottles. And to wrap it up, We took a phenomenal photo right in front of their amazing bar and had a blast. Thanks again to everyone who joined. We appreciate you, gentlemen. Tons of good times. All right, now time for 1792. We make the trip down to Bardstown, Kentucky. Gotta love 1792. Great facility. Very just old school. Kind of started off just walking around. Have to give a huge shout out, by the way, to Esther Newcomb. So one of our patrons, Tom's wife, she came with us, and all the photography was all done by her. So huge shout out to her. So for this pick, this was a joint pick for this one. Myself and Stuff and Whiskey. So Josh joined us from Stuff and Whiskey. Erin, unfortunately, had a business trip she had to go away for. So myself, my patrons, and Josh from Stuff and Whiskey and his patrons, they all joined us together on this joint pick. As you can tell, 1792, they did a great job laying everything out. Had all of our glasses out. We went right in. As you can tell, Josh is ready to grab that glass. Oscar's looking in. And who's first up, of course, to get a sip? Our good friend Josh from Stuff and Whiskey. We had Alex, our tour guide, by the way. If you ever get a chance to get to 1792, make sure you ask for Alex. Such a super cool tour guide and host for our session. So everyone's kind of going up. What I loved about our group is that two different groups, patron groups, Stuff and Whiskey, and the Judge group, Bourbon Judge group, but we worked so well together. We truly were one big family, honestly. It's almost like Judge and Stuff and Judge. Josh is preaching a little bit, giving everyone some his thoughts on, you know, nosing and so forth, which is awesome. But everyone's just kind of diving in, going through, and as you can tell, for this barrel pick, we actually did it in the Rick House. So unlike Middle West Spirits, which was actually right in the middle of their outside the bar area, this was actually done in the Rick House. Again, both communities kind of going back and forth, sharing thoughts, what we liked about certain barrels, what we didn't like about other barrels. Sometimes we had to go back for one or two pours just to make sure we were selecting the right barrels. At the end, we even did a blind because we were in between two different barrels. Remember that. Now, I will say, Tom knows which one he wants. He raised his hand. He knows exactly.
So that's,
what floor?
That's
the 40th Rick, 7th floor.
7th floor.
So that's a 7-year bourbon, but 8 summers in the wood.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. So
Wait,
A's proof.
hang on, 7-year bourbon?
7-year bourbon.
7-year
We're
bourbon.
a lot of bourbon deep now, so you
But it had 8 summers.
But by the time they dump it, though, it's 7.5.
That's right.
So 7.5. All right. Little inside view there. Now it's time to put the plug back in. Wow, that's a big gavel, Judge. Everyone took a stab at it. Myself, my buddy Oscar, Texas, coolest guy out there, by the way. Our good friends over from Stuff and Whiskey. Everyone had a chance to use the gavel. Even our good friend Tom, he closed it up for us. And his lovely wife, Esther. That's our photographer. We had to let her have some fun as well. She didn't sip any whiskey. She was our DD and our photographer. And there's our good friend Josh. He's signing our original barrel that we picked. Remember, we were there to pick one barrel. But we loved it so much, we ended up picking 2 barrels. That's how good 1792 whiskey is. We were fortunate enough to get 2 barrels for our groups. We all signed it there. That's just one of the 2. I will say this is one of the best experiences I've ever had picking a barrel. And that's where we wrap it up, folks. Hey, thanks for this experience, 1792 and Middle West Spirits. Until the next time, peace, cheers, salute.